Hello there, Eagles fans, and welcome back to our Eagles Therapy Podcast. My name is Basil.
And I'm Baz.
We are recording Monday night, November 20th, 2023, about an hour and a half after the Eagles defeated the Kansas City Chiefs. And we're feeling really good right now, right, Dad?
Oh, yes. That was beautiful.
Yeah,
what a game. It's so funny. We obviously watched the game with a bunch of people, and I didn't have much confidence going into the game. I didn't have much confidence going into the first quarter. I didn't have much confidence going into halftime. But I'll tell you what, this team just does not give up. I've never seen a team like this before in all my years. It's incredible.
It's true, I know. Yeah, we're still in shock. We're still in awe. I've been in shock for the last 2 hours. I'm blown away. I can't believe they persevered. They fought through it. They won the game. They played amazing in the second half. Not even amazing. They won. Like, they just played winning football. It's incredible. And you're right. I have never seen an Eagles team like this, much less a team like this. I don't, who wins these close games, wins these nitty gritty games every time almost.
Yeah.
Like, it's just incredible. But we're just really happy. We're really excited tonight.
Yeah.
We're just in a celebration mood. We've just been having the greatest time the last hour and a half, but we won't bore you too long with that. We'll go ahead and jump into the episode. We'll talk about the game, of course, tonight. We'll talk about some of our favorite stats, MVP, players that we wanted to see play, some under-the-nest plays, injuries, other games from this weekend. But before we jump into that, as always, we are part of the Philadelphia Eagles fan club in Colorado Springs. Go ahead and join that Facebook group if you're an Eagles fan. They'll ask you some questions if you're in the Colorado area. We watch every single game at Frankie's at Powers and Galley. Please come down and join us if you're an Eagles fan. We don't want other teams' fans there. There were some Chiefs fans on the other side of the bar. I saw them when I was walking around.
Yeah, we little note on that. I heard they left before we sang our victory song at the end, which was awesome.
They were pretty quiet throughout the game. I didn't hear much cheering over there, but it was all fun, man. We had a great time at the bar tonight. How many people? About 50, a little over 50, maybe less, something like that.
Two reports, a 46 and a 63. So we don't know who's counting, but
no, that's still cool though. A good turnout. We don't expect the Eagles Cowboys turnout, but man, it was still great. Yeah. All the people, we were going nuts. We were having a lot of fun. But we'll go ahead and jump into the recap of the game. Eagles defeated the Kansas City Chiefs 21-17. First time the Eagles had defeated their former coach Andy Reid. Really great to see. First time Jason Kelce has defeated Travis Kelce, which is a little bit unfair because they're both offensive players.
I'd like to be at Thanksgiving dinner this week.
That would be fun, wouldn't it? That's awesome. So, great game overall. What's your overall thoughts, Dad? What do you have to talk about?
Well, like you say, I'm still flabbergasted. There's no way I thought we'd win. The only thing that I know we kept talking about as we were watching the game, I kept going over to going, because we were pretty frustrated, and we're probably worse than most of the people that watch the games. We're very upset. We don't go, oh well, that was a nice effort. No, we don't play that when we're watching the games. I just remember going to you several times throughout the game, and just saying, you know what, we're only down 3 points.
Yeah,
we're only down. I mean, at halftime we were down 10, but I'm like, we're only down 7 points. We should be getting destroyed in this game.
Yeah,
there was just so many things that went wrong. I mean, for us, and in the beginning of the game, and I mean, I'm not right for them, but just went wrong for us. And on the road, loudest stadium in the NFL, rainy, cold, wet game.
Yeah,
you just thought there's no way, and they just persevere. It was incredible.
Yeah, it was just so much fun. The entire group being there, cheering, yelling, screaming. I screamed my head off a few times. It's not a very family-friendly place if you go to Frankie's. We get a little bit of cuss words up in there, but, man,
You only had one meltdown, so it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, I always have a freak out. Of course, when Kelce caught a touchdown, what did I say in the podcast?
Right.
That's him.
Right.
That's the guy. I won't stay on that for too long. But.
Well, again, that was something else we talked about, and I don't know how far you want me to go into this, or we got to order or anything, but, we said cover him, double him, and they did.
Oh, yeah.
And it didn't really turn out like we expected because they ran all over us in that first half. And here we are thinking, oh, wow, Kelce's only got one catch. But, Andy Reid, did what they do. He changed his game plan. And here we are doubling Kelce, think we're doing a great job. And they're gashing us with these runs.
Yeah, there's Justin Watson getting the catch,
Yeah, it was a different kind of game. And, in that first half, our our offense, even in the third quarter, just I don't know what we were doing. It got to the point in one play, we got sacked 5 times. And again, I don't know how far you want me to go, but we had 4 sacks in 6 offensive plays at one point in the second quarter, and it got to the point where we were not even trying to throw the ball on third down, and we're looking at each other. Not another quarterback draw. It was just.
Yeah.
I mean, but again, they persevered. And then they started pulling some plays out. And, it was just an incredible win. And it just shows you what kind of team we have. And it just, normally in the old days, we're down 10, we're down. But, man, I'll tell you what, don't turn the TV off. And if you're anywhere in the Colorado Springs area, you got to come down and watch the games with us because it is just a blast.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll go ahead and talk about different segments of the game. First off, on the offense, passing game, Hurts was 14 of 22, 150 yards, 1 interception. I should say this before I get into all this. It's incredible that the 2 front runners for MVP this year, Mahomes only had 177 passing yards and Hurts 150. And I think at halftime, I don't know the exact number, but they had combined for like less than 100 or a little over 100. Yeah. And people were making jokes on Twitter. They're like, it's hilarious that the MVP front runners, they're combined for over 100 a little bit.
I think at one time, Hurts was 3 of 5 for 31 yards, and at halftime, I believe he had 46 yards passing. But then if you were to subtract the sack yardage, he had 20 net yards passing in the first half.
I think in the first half we had 9 passing yards net.
It's just insane.
Yeah. The pass protection had a horrible game today. I mean, they came together in the second half, but in the first half, 5 sacks. Second half, none. So, they did their job.
Well, and then 2 drives. We talked about a 61-yard drive and then an 80-yard drive. I mean, they almost, stepped it up and kind of dominated late in the game. And I don't know if you could say the other guys were gassed or whatever, but it just, you really didn't feel like we had it until there was probably 5 minutes left in the game, 7 minutes left in the game.
7 minutes, I would say, yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. Devontae had his, not really his best game of the season, but he had a really good game, probably his second best game to the Vikings. 6 catch for 99 yards. Didn't have a touchdown, but almost did. A.J. Brown only had 1 catch for 8 yards. That was rough. Swift, 3 for 31. He had some pretty big plays in the passing game. He had a 20-yarder for a long. Because he had a 35-yarder for a rush, but he had a 20-yard catch for a long, and he jump-started 2 touchdown drives with his plays, a catch and a run. He really jump-started 2 touchdown drives, which will take me into the running game. Swift was 12 for 76 with a touchdown. Hurts was 12 for 29 with 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Overall, we were 27 for 114. It's a 4.2 average. Yeah. Not too bad, pretty standard.
Yeah,
about standard.
The biggest thing about Hurts was, and it's one of the other guys that was sitting with me, at one point early in the game, and we had talked before the game, we'd love to see Hurts run it just once or twice early, and he ran it kind of early, and he looked pretty good there. I think he ran it to the right side and got about 6 or 7 yards and slid, and it was a great play. It might have been the left side anyway.
Yeah.
And then he did run a few more times, but when he does the push, he's only getting a yard
or 2, and it brings down the average.
It hurts the average, but we don't need him to run for 50. He had 29 yards, and I'd say that's about perfect. He really did not get any bad hits, and even the sacks, if you notice, which it got ugly. But he kind of buckled and just kind of took the sack, and it wasn't a bad hit.
I've noticed the good thing about him is he doesn't take bad sacks. He doesn't take hard hitting sacks very much,
Yeah.
He does kind of lay down and lets the guy, it's good that he doesn't get trampled,
We're yelling, but then afterwards when we come back to our senses, we kind of go, okay.
Yeah.
He didn't get hammered on that play and it's all about keeping the quarterback healthy. I mean, he did get hit with that fumble and he got slapped on the hand the one time, and luckily
he jumped right on it.
He picked it up with his other hand. The guy is incredibly strong.
Yeah.
So
it's funny. I do have to say, on one of Hurts' rushing touchdowns, he knows it, but Hurts had a 10-yard rushing touchdown, and it was just funny because me and my dad were very superstitious. So at one point when the offense wasn't doing too, we swapped seats. Well, the offense went down and scored a touchdown. So we were like, oh man, we're gonna keep swapping seats, So we wouldn't swap seats on defense, and then we would on offense. We tried a few different variations, but
it worked.
At one point,
I didn't take my shirt off.
It was funny because we swapped seats on offense, and on that before that play, it's 3rd down and 5, I think, something like that. And I look at my dad, and I'm like, just please don't run another QB draw, because we had run like 2 earlier in the game that were just so horrible and stupid,
bumping into people.
And I told him, like, just please not another QB draw. And he snapped it and just ducked it and ran in for a touchdown. And I was just laughing my butt off.
Right behind Mulata.
I just said, do not do that.
Yeah.
They did it right away.
That was after the Swift run, I believe.
It was. Yes, it was.
And that was an incredible run.
Yeah.
I mean, he jump-started the whole game. And, we haven't gotten into MVPs or anything, but he's definitely got to be mentioned in this game for, if not MVP, the Kickstarter, because he had that run, and we finally thought, wow, we're only down 3 points or 10, whatever, at the time. And, and we scored a touchdown, and it just kind of said, wow, man, these guys, maybe they have something in them. But
I think we were down 3 after that touchdown. But
unbelievable.
Quick little talk about the defense. I'll tell you what, man, we give a lot of flack to the defense. We talk a lot of smack about the defense.
We do.
Not just us, the whole media, the whole Eagles fandom, really. But, man, they are a second-half defense.
Yeah.
They shut them out. They didn't allow any points in the second half. I mean, Mahomes, we talked about it, only 177 yards. I think we read Mahomes threw
22 passes for 99 yards
in the second half. That's incredible.
So let's 4 yards a pass, maybe a little bit more.
A little more, yeah.
5.
That's incredible. I mean, 22 passes. He threw in the second half. He threw as many times as Hurts did in the whole game. He threw 22 times in the second half and had only 99 yards. Is that what you said?
Yeah,
that's incredible.
Yards
That's incredible. That's unbelievable.
It's kind of, the game just ended, so there's not a lot of statistical stuff for us to go into. But so I really wanted to know how many yards they ran for in the second half, because they gashed us in the first half for like 130 yards or something ridiculous. But I don't know if your thing breaks it down by half. But
so they had 131 in the first. I think I saw it was 131 total. They had 168.
So the 37 yards in the second half.
There you go.
I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah, that is. That's awesome.
But here's the thing, we've been hammering the defense.
Yeah.
And here's, this not the most prolific offense in the league, but damn near, especially at home. Of course, the weather might have affected it somewhat, but the DBs, the safeties, they played great. I mean, and again, these are young guys. This is the thing, that last year there was some of these players for Kansas City who were rookies, and you're like, okay, well, we can, manipulate these guys. Well, they turn out to be good players. Well, these guys we've got in this particular game, and they're starting to get more reps. You got Sidney Brown, you've got
Eli Ricks,
Reed
Blankenship, all that.
And then they're coming together, with just the players, Roby, and it was just the DBs themselves that everybody behind the linebackers were incredible.
Yeah,
linebackers played great too.
Yep. So we talked about the second half. The defense really does show up, and obviously today, no points in the second half. And I got to point out, I don't like going back in time, but I just have to say it. The Patriots game, first game of the season, they only scored 6 points in the whole second half. The Rams didn't score any points in the second half.
Okay.
The Cowboys only scored 6 points in the second half.
Right.
And the Dolphins, they scored 7 points on a pick six.
Right.
So they didn't score any points in the second half. So the defense in the second half, man, they really come together. They really do. And I kind of try to remind myself during the game, I'm like, Sean Desai, he does a great job at adapting and making adjustments, because
that's what you need.
Second half, man, they came out and they did not allow any big plays. I know there was the big drop at the end of the game. That was a big play, but would have been a big play.
I don't even know what play you're talking about.
It is incomplete. I don't know what you want me to say.
It shouldn't be on the highlight reel, because it wasn't a real play.
Yeah. But in the second half, this defense, they just really do show up. Jumping over to special teams. Special teams, it's funny because JJ texted me after the game. He's like, or during the game, after the Josh Jobe tackle, he says, special teams gets an A+. I'm like, well, we had horrible punt coverage the whole game. Kadarius Toney, I mean, I could pull it up right here.
But he's a good, he is. I would even say the one punt that he had a good return on got to the 50-yard line. Sidney Brown hit him and spun him. And, he's just a good punt returner, too.
He had 6 for 58.
Because there was people at him, people there. But...
Yeah, he had 6 for 58, which is 9.7 yards per return. Take away one of those returns, because that was the Josh Jobe tackle. So that's 5 for 58.
Right.
So that, over 10 yards per return. Yeah. He was playing great. He had some great punt returns. Yeah. It was terrible. But you do have to give it up to Josh Jobe on that final punt return. It was to get them inside the 10. I think
it was a great punt too. Braden Mann pulled it out.
And, dude, Job just got him right on the legs. He couldn't even move.
That was at the 9-yard line.
Yeah, that was
so
great.
they had to go 91 yards to score a touchdown to win the game.
Yeah.
And as we know what happened.
Yeah. No, so great job by him. And in the punt return, like our punt return team, Covey did great.
Yeah.
He's just awesome.
3 for what? 17.7 yards.
Yeah,
so,
3 for 53, 26 for a long. That's awesome.
And man, every one of them. When you're playing a team like
Chiefs.
you need to flip the field, and we did it really well.
Yeah.
And like you say, that some of the punts Man had, I mean, he had one bad one, but the weather wasn't great. But boy, he had you said I think he had a 63-yarder for one, and
he had a 63 for a long. And the one that was inside the 20 is that one that we're talking about.
That was a great punt.
Yeah,
and it's needed. Like, that won the game for us. I mean,
47 average. I think is brought down by one of his poorer punts just because we talked about it, the weather was not great.
And it was a shank.
His net average was probably horrible because the punt return team, the punt coverage team,
gave up 58.
Just could not.
Well, he punted for 330. I think I read
330, 334.
and then minus 50. That puts you 280.
Yeah.
So it wasn't horrible, but when you need the punt, that's the thing about a punter. You don't need him to. When you need him to make a punt, and he makes a punt and puts him at the 9-yard line. Yeah. I mean, that whole, you could almost feel it at that time in the game. Like, the rest of the game,
he got away.
But when that happened, you could kind of feel it turning in our favor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was beautiful. That was man.
Yeah.
And it couldn't happen to a better player in Mahomes. I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
We always talk about how we dislike players and things like that, but I was telling Baz earlier too. At one point, every time they got a first down, there's Jai's jumping up and he's doing this and they're dancing.
Were dancing, man.
And I'm like, okay, let's go, man. And
Pacheco was
and our guys weren't. Like even Swift popped up after that
huge play,
really awesome run he made, and it looks like he was just playing off his blockers great, and it was Boston Scott. Remember, he was down the field,
he was quite
blocking, and it was wonderful. I mean, it was, and he even had that one sweep left there where he got to the 4-yard line, 3-yard line, which also set us up. But Swift kick-started us. We've been down, not just necessarily us, but a lot of the Philly media has been down on him.
Yeah,
and Juergens came back, and we, they didn't run so good early on in that game, but they got it going.
Yeah, that's true. Real quick, one thing I do want to say, I know we mentioned it, A.J. Brown only had one catch for 8 yards. It was in the second quarter. Kind of disappeared for the rest of the game. I think mostly just because they were running the ball so well, and also Hurts was getting so much pressure.
No time.
Even in the second quarter, even in the second half when they were playing better, he was still getting pressured from time to time. Yeah. So this whole A.J. Brown thing, there was another video. They had the camera on the sideline showing him getting mad at Jalen. He's upset and da-da-da. And it's funny because earlier this season I was very critical and I was very upset and I was very, you can't be like this. This guy's crying. He's upset.
You're a team player.
You can't do this. But last time I said that, and then he went on a 7-game streak of 125 yards or more. So I'm going to go ahead and let that slide.
That's right.
I do have to say, I was on Twitter before this. We were writing up our stats and kind of getting everything prepared. And I was on Twitter on my phone looking for more stats and stuff just to kind of look up for fun facts and everything.
Sure.
And I saw someone say, the Eagles, they beat a Chiefs team that had the most drops in the NFL, yada, yada. Like, they're not that good, all that stuff. A.J. Brown got, I forget what he said. A.J. Brown got exposed.
Okay.
So A.J. Brown got exposed. And I just kind of was like, I don't respond to stuff, but I was just like, this dude had 7 games.
Right.
Or was it 6? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
6 games. 5 games? Whatever. Yeah. 125 yards or more.
Yeah.
And you're telling me he got exposed? You're telling me he's not good?
Right.
You're telling me, he's not that great. Dude, he had 125 yards or more in, sorry, let me see this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It was 6.
Okay.
I kept saying 7.
There's the record.
Sorry. It's the record. It's the first time ever. We've
Right.
said it all. It's been beaten to death.
Yeah.
You're going to tell me he got exposed?
Yeah.
Please, are you a fool?
Yeah.
I can't.
So
that just frustrated me.
And
Are
that
you
just
kidding me?
That segues me to another thing where with Jalen Hurts in the game today, his passer rating, which we never talk about because we think it's a terrible stat.
It's the stupidest stats.
He had a passer rating of 64.5, and I know there is a a fan of a team we don't like that has his own show, and he always talks about passer rating and makes it a big deal. You know, Hurts doesn't have the greatest passer rating last night, as we can say now. But you know, the only thing he does is win.
Yeah.
I got some statistics here about
Oh, no.
him. He is 30-4 in his last 34 regular season games. Okay, you do the math on that, okay? In tonight's game, he had 150 yards passing. He had no TDs. He was sacked 5 times, threw a pick. He shrugs off those mistakes, and he still wins. He had 4 sacks in 6 plays in the second quarter, and he bounces back against a ferocious defense, one of the loudest outdoor stadiums in the league, with the weather like it was. They were just getting destroyed. Some of the play calling was awful, and they still win the game, right? 2 weeks from now, nobody remembers that. They just remember that we went into Kansas City and won the game.
It's true.
And you know, it was just, again, a very unbelievable win for us. And, you know, and I can say us because, believe me, listen to my throat. I cheer my bottom off when I'm at those games and yelling and screaming. So that counts as a win for us.
Oh, absolutely. And to touch on the exposed thing, I have just one more thing. Last week against Miami, Travis Kelce had 3 catches for 14 yards. So
yeah,
is he no longer the best tight end in NFL history?
He only had 44 yards tonight, and he dropped one. He fumbled one.
Oh, he's exposed.
So he's
exposed.
Yeah.
He's terrible. No, I can't. You know what I mean? I obviously think Travis Kelce's the greatest tight end in NFL history, so I'm joking.
He is. Yeah.
It just don't talk about exposed. It's just foolish. I can't stand that. But
well, Hurts got exposed tonight, I guess.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there you go.
You know, he's only 9-1 this season, so what are you going to do?
I mean, yeah, he's got 9 interceptions this season. He's been exposed, man. He's terrible.
Well, since I'm throwing out some stats, I'm going to throw out a few more. Kansas City, prior to tonight's game, was 62-6, leading by 10 points. They were 65-8, leading going into the fourth quarter. They were 18-0 when scoring first.
In the last 2 years.
In the last 2 seasons. They were 5-4 against the Philadelphia Eagles. Now they're 5-5 in the regular season all time. And I think that's all I got.
Okay, good. Yeah. I'll go ahead and jump over. We'll jump off the game a little bit. Go ahead and just go over to what do you want to see more of? What's something you want to see more of going forward?
Well, I still think they got to get the running game on track.
Okay.
Right? And I'd say earlier in the game, you know, they did have some big runs.
Yeah.
And they did finish with a pretty decent running game tonight.
Yeah.
And that's what we talked about earlier in last podcast. If you caught the preview show for the Kansas City game, we had said we should run the ball. Remember?
Yeah.
That's what I said. Run the ball over these guys. They're not a very good defense on the run. They kind of shut us out in the first half, but we did run the ball on them eventually, right?
Yeah, it's true.
We doubled Kelce, shut him down, and they ran all over us, and we were the best rushing defense in the league up until tonight. Who knows? We're probably second or third, and we'll definitely fix that.
Oh, yeah.
It's just something that I think the defense coordinator said, we're not going to let that guy beat us, just like you and I were saying.
Yeah.
Cover him. Cover that one guy. Let it throw him. You could throw the bomb to Smith-Schuster. He'll drop it. He won't catch it.
He's not on the team anymore, but okay.
Well, you know what I mean. You know,
Scantling, yeah.
You know, let him throw to the other guys. Some of them did make the catches. Watson looked pretty good, but you could tell that Mahomes, he was flustered. He was confused.
Oh yeah.
They were doubling him so much, and that's his first read. He's looking for Kelce, and that's why he looked as bad as he did in that game.
Yeah.
You know, he only threw for 100 yards in the second half. I know the weather probably played into it. And, of course, the biggest play of the game was the intentional grounding, which thank the Lord that they actually called that play, because so many times you see that happen and they don't call it or whatever.
That's something that wouldn't be called against Brady or Rodgers. You know, like a Mahomes type thing where for some reason it wouldn't be called.
Yeah.
Oh well,
yeah.
The guy was outside the pocket and the ball kind of got to the line of script. No,
the referee come right out and said it.
Oh,
of course, if you watch the game or even if you watch a highlight reel of the game, when he throws that ball out, the entire sideline of the Eagles were jumping up and down, and it wasn't just the coaches. It was you see Kelce pointing, and you see Dickerson. He's clapping his hands. They all knew.
Jake Elliott was on the field screaming. It was hilarious.
They all knew.
He was on the grass. It was so funny to watch. But
but of course we knew it at the bar too.
We were screaming. Man.
We went nuts. And then when they finally called it, because we were
out.
waiting for the call, Then we knew it was going to be 4th and 25, and
Oh,
we knew
yeah.
they were going to have to
No timeouts.
you know,
They had to waste timeout. Yeah.
it was which we were talking about too. They used the timeout,
To avoid a 10-second runoff.
right? But
Kind of funny. Yeah. It's like, well,
yeah,
it's 4th and 25. What's the point,
Yeah,
really? Why?
yeah.
You know, what doesn't matter.
it's true though. But I mean, we kind of went in retrospect. We went, there was a minute 35 left. You go, well, who cares? Take the
Yeah.
10 seconds. If we get the first down, we need a timeout. But
Yeah.
they used the timeout, and did not get the first down.
So for me going forward, what I want to see more of, I was going to say consistency with the pass game, but I think I need to say consistency with the pass protection game. I mean, like, we talked about before the Cowboys game, the Eagles were for like 3 consecutive weeks, or in that 3 consecutive weeks, they had given up the most pressures. And it's just kind of like, man, they talk about this offensive line being, the greatest in the league. And I truly believe they are. If you look at the names of it, yes, they are, but they let up 5 sacks today. Now, I know sometimes they let up 5 sacks. It's kind of misleading. Sometimes it's an extra blitzer that no one can pick up, and that's the guy who got the sack, and that's no one's fault. Or it's this guy. There's different ways to look at it, but it has just been bad. The pass protection, it's just not what it should be. That these guys are top tier, all Pro Bowl names, and my quarterback's getting sacked 5 times in the first half.
It was concerning, I would say.
Yeah.
And even in the Cowboys game, the previous game we played, a lot of pressures. I think we could put the whole thing where this lineman hasn't given up a sack in 5 years, and this lineman hasn't, because they've all been giving up sacks this particular year. Although rough. Cam looked great.
Cam was playing hard, man.
Game. So
yeah,
I mean,
which takes
again,
us to
cohesiveness again.
Yeah.
He was out for 5 weeks, so hopefully we get this thing back together again. And
I do have to say, I think that 3 consecutive weeks thing, like in the last 3 weeks, a lot of it was the Jets game was Jack Driscoll when he came in.
Right, it was.
A lot of it was. Yeah. But that moves us over to our next thing, how our selected players played. Last week, of course, we always choose players. I chose Jalen Carter. You chose Cam Jurgens.
Yes.
Jalen Carter, I don't think he really showed up on the stat sheet. He might have had
he had the tackle on it was a holding call, so it got called back.
He had 3 tackles total. I don't know so much about pressures. Like we said, it's kind of hard to get the stats the night of the game because they don't really release this.
But
stuff.
You know what? He's a presence in the middle.
Oh,
absolutely.
And
he was busting in through a few times, and I'm sure he got Mahomes wide-eyed once or twice. Because remember the one play where he looked like he got held and tackled, but he pushed him out of the pocket, and he ended up running for 17 yards.
Yeah.
But
well, that's what I was going to say.
Played well.
I was going to say he was. My big thing about Jalen Carter was he was held the whole game. I saw his jersey being ripped off his shoulder the entire game. At one point, he was tackled to the ground
on that one play.
It was down that play. He got tackled to the ground, and then they ran up and got that first down, and they ran up to, I believe, spike the ball, and they called neutral zone infraction on Jalen Carter because he was offsides.
Right.
Well, I screamed at the top of my lungs. It was one of my outbursts today.
Right.
I couldn't believe it. He was tackled.
Yes.
That's why he's not on the right side of the line of scrimmage. He's getting up because he was tackled.
And he was deep,
furious
in their backfield.
Yes. I was furious.
Yeah, there was a couple. I hate the whole Mahomes. Mahomes is so slick. He's kind of like, I don't know. He can sense it, and he gets away from these
Rodgers-esque.
And you're just like, man, they were so close so many times, but that intentional grounding one, Sweat was not letting him get out of that one. So.
I think the biggest thing about Mahomes is he has no fear. He doesn't. A lot of quarterbacks, when we wrapped him up at one point, and then a lot of quarterbacks would kind of they don't want to. They'd crumble. They'd get, and that's Mahomes. He's not scared. He's I got to keep my eyes downfield, and if I get plastered, I'll get plastered. Yeah. But I got to get the ball, and he does that better than anyone else. But what did you think of Cam Jurgens? You came back.
I thought he played great, and I think it's going to be get what we need for this playoff run or whatever you want to call it towards the end of just get this back get the band back together, and let's keep it going, because I think he looked like one of the better linemen out there. I saw him. Not just that. You had actually pointed out that, one play, it was kind of a broken play, but he was out there nailing 2 or 3 different people.
Yeah.
He went over here and he went over there, and you're like, he's still blocking.
He hit like 4 of the rushing off the defensive linemen.
Yeah.
He hit all 4 of the guys who were rushing back there. Yeah, he played really well. He plays with heart. You can tell
Yeah.
he plays strong and
Yeah,
plays
no,
hard,
he was.
which is good because he'll be a replacement of Kelsey going forward. We need a guy like that.
So
But
yeah, I think I finally picked a good player. I've had
yeah,
some
it's
bad.
true. Yeah.
I picked a lot of guys that didn't even play in certain games.
Yeah.
So
Who do you have as your MVP of this game?
of this game, I'm going to say Roby.
Okay, wow.
I thought he played well. He
Bradley
knocked
Roby.
the fumble out of the hand of Kelsey on that one play, and he.
That the offense didn't capitalize on at all.
No. But still, I mean, that
Which has to
stopped
do
them from scoring the points.
Which has to do with second half defense we talked about.
That's right.
They
That's
forced
right.
that phone. That was the second half, man.
And
that
there
was
was
a game changer.
I believe he's 33, right?
He's number 33.
Yeah. So he made that one player flip when he tackled him earlier.
Yep.
I mean, I was going to give the Blankenship because, I mean, he hit a lot of people and he hits hard, and there were a few guys that were like borderline sideline, but he don't play around with that where they can dance in the sidelines and then there's like, oh, don't hit him. He's near the sideline, and then he goes for another 5 yards. He makes sure that player's
out of bounds.
Decleated.
Yeah.
He must have had 3 or 4 really good
did.
shots tonight.
He did. Yeah, I had Josh Sweat. I was going to choose DeAndre Swift. We talked about that earlier. During the game, I kind of thought he was my MVP because he jump-started the offense 2 separate times that they went and scored. But in the end, I had to choose Josh Sweat. Doesn't really show up in the stat sheet too much, 4 total tackles, but a couple pressures here and there. He caused a couple holds to be called on him.
Yes.
Because, on third down. I think it was only maybe 1. But,
and
he was a big deal around the edge. He was big in the run game, stopping the run game. He got, he was getting back there. But that intentional grounding,
yeah,
he was fighting to get back there. You saw him. He dropped his shoulder. The offensive lineman couldn't grab him or couldn't get him.
Right.
And he just wrapped around Mahomes, and Mahomes had to throw it, and that was a game winner, really.
Yeah.
The
thing about the intentional grounding that drives me nuts is, especially when it's a guy's definitely got a sack, but it doesn't count as a sack. It doesn't count as a stat, and you're like, you should at least count as something.
It is unfortunate.
A forced, forced fumble, forced intentional grounding, something, because I mean, it's such a big play. I mean, like, it was almost like the Reddick sack weeks ago when he had the one to end the game. This ended the game for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, they still had 4th and 25, which we didn't think they had much of a shot. But
no.
But he made this play, and it was an incredible play. And he chased down, this fast quarterback Mahomes who's running away from him, and he just took him down to the ground.
Yeah.
And,
But I'll say this about Sweat, man. This is the second game in a row. Of course, 2 weeks ago in Dallas, he had a sack that made the clock continue to run, where Dak had to throw the ball out of bounds, and they only had 5 seconds left.
Right.
This is huge, man. Him and Reddick at the end of the games, in that fourth quarter, dude, they turn into a different gear. When it's the biggest play of the game, they are there. Their name is called, and they're ready to do it.
Yeah.
And it's more incredible for Sweat because he's a 4th-round pick. Where did he play college?
Oh gosh,
I forgot. I feel bad. But he was a 4th-round pick back in 2018, and just how far he has come.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible. He is what, and I'm sorry to make this negative about a person, he is what we wanted Derek Barnett to be. Like, he is what Derek Barnett was expected to be.
Yeah.
Derek Barnett was drafted in 2017, been the most incredible disappointment for us ever.
Yeah.
But dude, Sweat is what he was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And Sweat makes up for the Barnett pick. It really does.
It does. And Barnett, he wasn't even playing due to personal reasons or something.
They're just not.
They're
playing.
probably going to sit him the rest of the year, unfortunately for him. But again, I was high on him when we brought him back for his 6th season, I believe. I was like, okay, he's going to have something. Apparently, he doesn't have much in the tank, and now I don't know if he's made some enemies but he's not playing.
It feels like it sometimes.
And we need Nolan Smith, who we haven't had the game book that tells us the snap count yet, but I don't know. He doesn't have a stat on the stat sheet, right?
No, I don't. Nothing on here yet.
But we were really hoping to see Nolan Smith do something and at least get him going. Because I'll tell you what, some of those DBs that played tonight, the young guys, as I call them, like Ricks and they all.
City Brown.
I mean, they may not be in the stat sheet, but I watched them make some great plays tonight, and that defense that defensive backs were incredible in that second
City
half.
Brown had 3 tackles. That's cool to see.
There you go.
Ricks is not on here. He did have a pretty bad. Well, it wasn't. I think they called it illegal contact.
Oh, it's terrible.
I can't.
Terrible.
I can't with the refs. I don't want to go on a rant.
We don't want to.
I don't want to talk
that.
about it.
Yeah.
But it's just funny how with the Cowboys game and this game, I see stuff on Twitter saying that we were favored by the refs, and I'm like, What
Yeah,
are you
not tonight.
talking
Not
about?
tonight.
It's just
Not tonight.
mind-blowing to watch. But
They gave them a first down on that terrible pass interference.
I know. Let's jump over to Under the Nest. Get to more positive stuff. Games that went under the radar weren't really noticed. My offensive one, with 7 minutes and 33 seconds left in the fourth quarter, it was 3rd and 5. Jalen Hurts hit Devontae Smith for a 13-yard first down, and the first down led to the next play was the 41-yard gain to get to the one, and then the QB sneak for the touchdown. So on 3rd and 5, 13-yard gain. Devontae again, probably his second or maybe best game of the year, probably second or third or something like that. But just really great. He got open, he got that first down. It was just so clutch. Devontae's a really clutch player, and so is Hurts. But Devontae is really clutch player, man. He comes up big in the end of games a lot too. Yeah,
it's funny because in that whole series that we were talking about, I remember going over to you and saying, we kept throwing them out passes.
Yeah,
we're getting kind of upset, and I think I forget who he hit out in the flat. It got like 6 or 7 yards, and it might have been Swift.
I think it might have been Stoll or Calcaterra.
It might have been one of those guys. And we were throwing it, and I said, okay, we're throwing it left, we're throwing it right. Somebody's going to be open deep. And it was only probably a few minutes later that they threw that thing deep. And, of course, when they throw the deep pass, we're all standing up, right? And when he caught that, and he was that close to scoring a touchdown. And, of course, we knew, which is the greatest thing about the Philly pushes, we knew it was going to be a touchdown.
We don't need to score a touchdown.
We knew it was going to be a touchdown. That's right. Run the clock, baby, because we're going to take it in and put it in.
I can't believe how many teams still don't do a quarterback sneak. Not even the push, but a quarterback sneak. It's just painful to watch. But for defense, on 3rd and 12, towards the end of the game in the fourth quarter, I don't have a timestamp. It was the Chiefs' second to last drive. Mahomes scrambled to the left. While he was getting tackled, it looked like he was throwing the ball. It looked like it was going to be complete, and Zach Cunningham batted it down, and it was, it became 4th and 13, I think, or 4th and 12, and it was just, oh my gosh, it was electric.
Yeah.
We were going nuts for that.
Well, especially since in the game, it always seemed like we were 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12, and they seemed to always be 3rd and 2, 3rd and 4, and you're like, we got to get them in, down in distance. We need them to be in 3rd and 12, and that's how you can beat a team like that. But if you give them that short 3rd and 3, and then you're going to let Mahomes do a scramble drill and throw the ball, it's not going to happen.
Yep. Some injuries we dealt with in the game. Unfortunately, Milton Williams, he left. He was evaluated for a concussion. They said he was not going to be coming back. He was questionable to return, and then they said he was not coming back.
That's right. He got hit by the other guys.
Him and Morrow collided, and I saw it, and I was like, oh, no, it was bad.
He was playing a game, man. Early on,
he was great. He was our best.
Plays.
He was our best interior defensive lineman early in the game. He was playing better than Carter, Davis, and Cox.
He might not be getting double team, whatever, but he made that one play where he busted through and he caught the guy in the backfield, right? 2-yard, 3-yard loss.
It was awesome. He had 5 total tackles, but hopefully he's okay. Grant Calcaterra, he left with an ankle injury. Big loss because he's kind of our backup tight end now, but not just that. Calcaterra and Jack Stoll last year, they proved when Goddard was out, they proved they could be good run blockers.
Yeah.
So we do need these guys to be kind of healthy because these guys can be a big deal in the run blocking, considering Goddard was so huge in run blocking. But just not fun. We'll go over to the Eagles rooting guide. Another not so great week for the Eagles, despite winning, which was just so huge to keep the. What am I trying to say? The distance, the lead in our division and in our conference. It's just huge. Cowboys, of course, defeated the Panthers 33-10. We expected that. Giants defeated the Commanders. That's good. We want the Giants to go ahead and ruin their pick. Hopefully, end up in the top 6 instead of the top 2. Commanders, it's good for them to level out a little bit more. In the end, we kind of do want the Commanders to lose because we want them to push for a playoff spot because they got to face Dallas twice. And we don't want them playing,
for
lackluster. We want them playing for something, Lions, unfortunately, defeated the Bears. It is unfortunate because we've always been Lions supporters, and now we kind of have to cheer against them. I don't like doing that.
Plus, they were losing that stinking game, and they came back. I mean, it looked good, but they're not. I don't really fear the Lions because they look like they're.
That's the thing. I think that game, despite them winning, it did prove that they're really
3 interceptions. I mean, just
he was my fantasy quarterback this week too.
But, sorry, buddy.
49ers defeated the Bucks, kind of annihilated them. I know in the end, 27-14 seemed like a closer game. The Buccaneers did have some chances to score, but
They're not
Who
good.
are we kidding?
Yeah, they're
who are
not
we
good.
kidding?
Yeah.
Come on.
They should have scored at least 2 more touchdowns.
Yeah, we do
in
need the
that
Bucks to kind of. We need the Bucks to win. We got to get these Saints to lose.
Yeah.
The Saints, I believe, they were on the bye week this week, right?
They
didn't-
were, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we need the Saints. Sorry, not the Saints. The Buccaneers or the
Falcons.
the Falcons to kind of make that push, get the Saints out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
But Rams defeated the Seahawks. That was a big one. I wasn't expecting that. 17-16, game lose.
I left your house, and I
Yeah.
didn't know
Yeah.
the Rams had won until much later.
Yeah, game losing field goal. The Seahawks got down in field goal range,
Yeah.
missed the field goal. Kind of good to see. We don't want them to be too high and mighty, but we also don't want them to be too low.
Right.
It's hard. This is the hard part about being a crazy football fan is you have all these reasons to root for these teams, and it's funny because you'll
Right.
come across other people and you tell them like, oh yeah, well I want them to win and I need them to win and I need them to do this, and
They're like,
they're
why?
kind of like, oh, do you have the quarterback in fantasy? I'm like, no, I need
Yeah.
them to win because
Right.
it's better for my team that this team doesn't look as good. Like
Right.
it's just so funny.
Yeah.
Like the Dolphins, we got to cheer for them to win all the time because
Yeah.
we want our strength of schedule to go up.
Yeah.
It's just so funny
Yeah.
how that goes.
But
The rest
then
of
last week you were cheering against them. Yeah, that's because they were playing this other team. And I
they were
wanted them
playing
to
this
lose.
team. Yeah. So it's funny. We want the Seahawks to we want them to be not so great, but we do want them to win because if we can beat them, which I'm not going to say anything, but
Right.
if we beat them, strength schedule's higher if they're
Sure.
a winning your team.
And their NFC,
Lastly, the Broncos defeated the Vikings.
Great game.
Obviously, yeah, that was a really good game.
Great game.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends who were Broncos and Vikings fans, so it was fun being in the group chat, listening to them all talk smack to each other.
Yeah.
We kind of want the Vikings to lose because the Vikings losing keeps the Commanders at a more, keep on
Right.
trying to get a wild card spot.
Sure.
It keeps them alive in the race. They're really not. They're 4-7. The Vikings are 6-5. But no, it's
Yeah.
still, it can level out, and
Oh, yeah.
hopefully, we want Washington to be playing for life because
Right.
they play Dallas twice. We need them to
That's right.
kind of knock Dallas down a peg too, because we don't want Dallas to be the 5th seed, because we want them to be the 6th seed.
That's
because
right.
If the Niners are the 3rd
Yeah,
seed, then
they
they would play each other
on the road and home games.
It's too much. I know I'm too
Yeah.
much, but
That's okay.
there's just a lot to it.
That's what it
Yeah.
takes. You got to know what's going on,
But
right?
good-
That's
good-
why we're here.
Yeah,
Keep
that-
you informed.
That's why we do it. Yeah,
That's right.
but good for the Broncos to win. They've
Good
kind
game.
of turned their season around a little bit. It's pretty kind of crazy. I wasn't
4
expecting
straight or
that.
something like that.
Yeah, well,
Maybe
Colby,
5?
my friend Colby, just keeps saying hottest team in the league. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how good they are. They're 4-1 in their last 5. They've won 4 straight.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
they're looking really good. They're 5-5, which means they were 1-4. They were 1-4.
5, something like that.
They were 1-4. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're pretty darn good. So they're not darn good, but
They
they're
gave up 70 points against Miami. I heard it 1,000 times.
Isn't that funny? I know.
Yeah. It's enough.
So it made Miami look like the greatest team in the world, and
Yeah.
now they're down to earth too. They're extremely down to earth. Did they win?
I don't think so.
I don't remember.
No.
Oh yeah, they beat the Raiders, but it wasn't like
13-10?
no 20-13.
Okay.
But you're
I
right,
do
it
remember that,
wasn't
yeah.
a blowout or anything like that.
Well, that was the other thing about not the bye week, but just we didn't play on Sunday. And,
yeah.
We had to sit through some of these games. I mean, I know, watch the Browns-Pittsburgh game, and oh, my Lord. I mean, I'd rather paint this room. That
Yeah.
game was so bad. And you're like, they're both giving the game away to each other. It was just awful. It was hard to watch. A lot of the games were hard to watch.
It is funny. I saw someone talk about it today. It's like the NFL. Sometimes it's just not good at all.
Yeah.
Sometimes no one's good. It's just how it is sometimes. Like like we're 9-1, so we're good. But
Yeah.
the Chiefs, they're 7-3, but also they can't catch the ball.
Yeah.
The Lions, they're 7-2 or 7-2, and but they threw 3 interceptions. Like
Yeah.
which I mean, Hurts has thrown 3 interceptions before too.
Sure.
It's just like it's funny how the league just always it balances out at some point.
Right.
Which speaking of the AFC side of things, the Ravens are now now that the Chiefs lost today, or last night, whatever, the Ravens, they're now the number 1 team in the AFC. They
Right.
got the number 1 seed, but dude, they just lost Mark Andrews.
Right.
Their offense isn't going to be anything like it was before.
Yeah.
They could still be good. They still will be good, but
Yeah.
that turn off the Super Bowl team.
Well, it's funny because you remember
it
what I
just
said
doesn't
at last podcast that if we win this game, we can't win. Well, I think I'm wrong there.
You were wrong. I was so confused sitting next to you here.
Yeah. So
You're like, well, here's the thing. If we win, we're not going to be the number 1. Yes,
well,
what
they're
are you
going to
talking about?
the Chiefs. He
No.
dropped that touchdown pass, and they
No.
dropped 6 passes, and and there's always an excuse. Oh,
No.
the Ravens are a better team. I personally don't care where they rank us. I just want to keep winning. That's all that counts.
That's all
to me.
cares. That's all I matter about. All I care about. Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and say our goodbyes. We've been here long enough. We're taking up all of our hundreds of thousands of viewers' times. But you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. If you like our Eagles Therapy podcast, do us a favor. Rate and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Or if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. You can comment below any questions, comments, concerns, anything you want us to talk about, any ideas you have for us to try. We kind of ran out of time. We wanted to talk about the studs and duds with the fantasy. We'll try doing that.
There was all duds tonight.
Everyone was duds. It wasn't even
the punter was good.
Mahomes only had 20. Hertz was 19, 18.
Yeah.
Devontae was 19. Swift was 19. Like it wasn't even impressive. But
there was no big winners on the fantasy
AJ
league.
was dud McStud.
Yeah,
Dud
and that's the
McBud
thing.
Bud.
If you needed him to do well, if he was one of your wide receivers
He was
tonight,
mine.
yeah, but you had already lost, I think. in the
Yeah,
league,
but it's
so
not
you
gonna
were
happen.
you weren't gonna
But
make it.
You can email us your questions at oureaglestherapy@gmail.com. But other than that, from all of us here at Our Eagles Therapy Podcast, I'm Basil.
And I'm Baz.
Go Birds.
And fly, Eagles, fly.